Welcome back. We will be continuing with our session on the nuclear weapons, and we will continue with the discussion on formation of ethical policies with respect to nuclear weapons. Let us see what is there. There is a need to formulating for ethical policies in nuclear organization with respect to conducting operations at nuclear facilities, management systems including quality management and safety culture, human resource management including human performance improvement, training and qualification of personnel. Now, why it is required to formulate ethical policies in nuclear organization with respect to conducting operations at nuclear facilities is sometimes it may happen unsafe acts may take place. So, who is responsible for that? Is it the fault of the equipment or is it the fault of the person? Or is it because no standard processes is written how to operate at that facility? So, when we want to see like who is responsible, then this becomes questions of ethical issues. So, what will determine an ethical operations at nuclear facilities needs to be defined, like what is the proper use of the like equipments, how to deal with that, what will be counted as an unsafe act, etc. So, it is not only that the safety culture or the quality management practices, these are also important management system, because a culture needs to be imbibed within the persons, so that it is there in the air, it is there in the system, and they have to follow it if they want to be a part of that organization. So, the management system including quality management and safety culture is very important with respect to ethical policies in nuclear organizations. Third is for the training and qualification of personnel, the competencies for dealing with this like high risk involved equipments, what are their like how their performances can be improved. So, what is their training required so that they follow the procedures involved in using these things, equipments, needs to be ethical policies needs to be formulated for those things also. Next, what we find is important is open and transparent decision making and communication methods. This is very important thing, because as we were discussing earlier, it should not be a blame game. It was your responsibility, you have not done it, or why this organization has not taken care of something. The environment should not be like that. The environment should be open enough, so that and transparent enough, so that if, because we understand there is a high risk involved, instead of blaming of the person, instead of going for conflict with the person, everyone should be very task focused over here, because we cannot risk the lives of millions and millions of people, or we cannot like compromise with the like well-being in the environment. So, if some wrong or fault is detected and some decision needs to be taken about it, then or it needs to be communicated, then there should be transparent decision making process and the communication method open and transparent, so that everybody can communicate with the other about the like importance of the task at hand, and like get the corrective actions taken. So, for that open and transparent decision making and communication methods are important. Physical protection and control of nuclear materials. This is another important, very important thing, because how these materials are protected, how they are controlled, how they are stored, because radiations may happen. So, these are important requirements for like ethical issues with related with the nuclear ethics, and because this may cause again harm to people. So, what means proper storage? What means proper control? What if somewhere it is not, that culture is not there? What if some person is not following? Then what are the steps to be taken for that? So, what are the codes of conduct needs to be defined in these cases? So, experience feedback and corrective action system. So, this is another important thing. Everybody should give their feedback about their experiences, and there should be corrective action system present in the organization which can try to answer to the any minor problem that is happening, how corrections can be made, and to see like the fault is not repeated again. So, these, for everything, a code of conduct, a way of doing things needs to be placed, because we have to understand this is a very high risk kind of thing and we cannot be casual about it. Now, we will come to a very basic question, like when we have been repeating like it is very high risk, it may cause destruction, it may cause mass destruction, which may lead to maybe claiming lives of people, and like through generations those who remain there, that may be disastrous for the generations to come also. Then a very basic question may arise, like is it ethical for the engineers to continue developing nuclear weapons? Let us see into it. So, we understand like there is a paradox in it. It's like undoubtedly it has a very disastrous effect due to the destructive power. Their bad effect on the environment can be marginalized but cannot be completely eradicated. Hence, a few humanitarians have although raised voices for their abolition to protect humanity. But again, there is a paradox about it. So, which talks of not to compromise with the security of the country, because when we are talking of nuclear deterrence, there are two parts, like nuclear warfare and nuclear deterrence. When you are talking of nuclear deterrence, it is the security part of the like self defense and making oneself secure, so that the and preventing further war. So, in that case, when you are talking of nuclear deterrence, so it is talking of not to compromise with the security of the country, because it's a matter of trust and trustworthiness. Like if somebody declares like we are not going to do any nuclear warfare, and maybe we are not going for developing any nuclear weapons, question comes to what extent we can trust that nation. How do we know like tomorrow that nation is not going to hit us back with the nuclear weapons? So, taking those considerations, views, so it is considered to be ethical for engineers to develop nuclear weapons for the purpose of the defense of the country. So, if you are talking of the security and defense of the country at large, so it is considered ethical for the engineers to develop nuclear weapons for the purpose of the safety of the country. However, in this, the main stakeholders involved are there a lot of stakeholders like government, because government has to take a decision. Alliances, government partnership with other countries in the form of any treaties signed with respect to nuclear weapons, developments and testing. We were talking of arms control, we were talking of disarmament. So this, like, it's not a single country which can decide on it and practice it. There needs to be a good collection of countries, a partnership amongst the countries who mutually decide to do something and respect what they decide. That is, they keep their words what they have decided on and not revert back to old practices of fighting with nuclear weapons. So if a few countries have signed a treaty regarding nuclear disarmament or arms control, it is very important for the countries to respect the treaty and not to work out of it in terms of whenever they feel like, and even if there is a lot of temptation to work out from it. So what is the integrity of their action, what is the trustworthiness of their action? These are very important things which are related to the relation of the alliances in terms of developing of the nuclear weapons and testing them. So third is a third important stakeholder is the nuclear weapon manufacturer, then it is the engineers and scientists and common public. These are the main stakeholders who are connected to understanding the what are the policies and practices with respect to if you're talking of if you're talking of developing nuclear weapon, and if you're talking of the security of the country at large, so there are different stakeholders as we have told, and they need to come to a common agreement. And why you have listed this in, they need to come to a common agreement, and why we have listed this in this order of importance is, of course, government and alliances are most important because they are the people who are making decision with respect to their nuclear weapons and policies related to them. So sometimes what happens, there could be a conflict of interest also, or there could be focus of interest of the different parties could be different. So it's very important they come to a consensus, as it is mentioned over here, the common people would want to live a safe environment, and the companies would want to shoot up the production to make more money, and the government main interest lies in protecting the country from foreign invasion and threat. So if we feel the government's main interest lies in protecting the country from foreign invasion and threat, and the public want to live a safe environment, live in a safe environment, and if the government truly feels and the people truly feel the nuclear weapon is the only answer, then we have to ask a question: have we tried for other alternatives? Yes or no? So if they have tried and failed, and then maybe they decide on the nuclear weapons, and the companies also want to shoot up the production, so there will be one type of policy. But if again the government and the general public feels no, there are greater consequences of bigger consequences of using these weapons, and these losses are irreversible losses, and we decide not to use that weapon. So even maybe the companies want to shoot up the production and all, so the government and the common people will not be very agreeable to those things and maybe decide for arms control or disarmament. So, it depends on how each of the stakeholders are looking at the issue and collectively what they arrive at, what particular decision that they arrive at. So, for this the relevant values which are very important time and again when we are discussing about the computer ethics and when you are talking of the nuclear ethics, the word which is getting repeated again and again is the duty ethics. It is the ethics of the engineers in terms of their values, in terms of their virtues. So, the relevant values which should be included over here are national sovereignty, territorial integrity, public welfare, world peace, sustainability of the environment, and of course, integrity of the engineer. The integrity of the engineer who is developing these things, for what purpose it is getting developed, is like the person agreeable to the cause for what the weapon is getting used. So, these are relevant values which are there for the nuclear ethics. So, there could be, as we are telling, like as there are multiple stakeholders, there could be conflict in their interest, there could be differences in how they are looking at the particular problem of whether to continue having nuclear weapon or not. So, that becomes a very disputed fact, like whether the nuclear weapon should still be there in the world or not. So, the options for actions include use nuclear deterrence as an important instrument for security, or 2. Every country gives up the nuclear weapon at the same time. So, this we find that there could be two things, like use nuclear deterrence where you are developing these weapons as a part of your strength and security, or everybody is giving up the weapon at the same time. These could be the two options, and whatever is decided, there should be a consensus between the parties who are involved in it. There should be consensus amongst the stakeholders who are involved in it. See, if all the countries are not giving up the weapons at the same point of time, and we are talking of like nuclear disarmament, so it may be perceived as a threat by some countries who have given up some countries who have given up the weapons and waiting for the others to give up, but they are still not given up the weapon. So, if it is not an action which is taken by all at the same point of time, for the time in between where one country has given up the weapon and the other and waiting for the other countries to give up the weapon could be very, very stressful for that country and is unethical also. So, how if a policy is framed, it needs to be executed, and what are the consequences of that policy needs to be revisited again and again before we try to establish a particular policy regarding nuclear weapons. We will try to see the nuclear deterrence from the theory of utilitarianism and nuclear weapons. So, as we understand, utilitarianism has been defined as those actions which should be chosen that lead to maximum amount of happiness. So, this indicates that out of the various options available, only that option should be chosen which gives the greatest happiness for the people. So, according to this agreement is, if people are pursuing for peace, then people with fewer wars and deaths will be the most happy people. They will feel happier if there are fewer wars and death. So, mapping this with the utilitarian ethics, so it is right if few people are killed or animal life is affected or harmful radiations are released in environment to assure you the security of the nation of millions or billions of people. So again, it is unlike whether we are looking for compromising on the lives of the few people or animal lives or the environment to bring in happiness to the maybe millions or billions of people, the majority. But again, a debatable question is, can we really compromise for the life of a particular entity, and like should, and then it is taken as a cost for the buying the maybe happiness for other million. So can we really do that is again a question of debate, or we need to like take measures enough to see that this harm is minimized, or can we avoid this harm at all. From the theory of deontology, that is the duty ethics, so it focuses on whether the action is right or wrong instead of analyzing the consequences. So, as nuclear weapons claims the lives of some innocent people, both in the opponent and in the retaliatory countries at risk. So it is too intrinsically wrong, because a nuclear weapon, it is claiming some innocent lives who are nowhere connected with the main issue for which nuclear weapons are getting fired. So maybe they are not involved in the decision process, so but they face the consequences. So that consequence is claiming the lives of the people, so whether they are opponent or not. And so based on that, this is taken to be an intrinsically wrong to like go for nuclear weapons, and without trying to find out maybe if other alternatives are available or not. From the viewpoint of nuclear deterrence, we can tell like deter means avoiding. So nuclear deterrence, like if country X views like the country Y, a nuclear deterrence means like if the country X is very much unlikely to attack country Y, if it feels like the, or if it knows like the country X has more nuclear weapons. So if the country Y has made itself strong by getting more nuclear weapons, that may give a threat perception to others, and they will not be planning to attack country Y. So nuclear deterrence is very much essential to safeguard a country and protects its people from invasion and attacks from other countries. So taking this into consideration, a balance of nuclear weapon is very much essential for reducing the aggression as well as chances of large scale wars, as it restricts other countries from attacking you. So if I portray my image, if my image gets projected to other organizations, the one country's image as a as a very nuclear weapon strong country is getting projected to the other countries, they may not be attacking us, and that's how we safeguard ourselves. So taking this into consideration, so having a balanced nuclear weapon is maybe necessary, so that people, we do not have like too much like which is a questionable, and we do not have anything, so that we do not have the power to safeguard ourselves also. So balanced of nuclear weapon is like essential. So, for that we can conclude like nuclear deterrence makes the country safer. So, it is justified for engineers to continue developing nuclear weapons. So, as they do it for the more, as they do the best for the most people in the end. So, what we can conclude over here, yes, we can continue developing nuclear weapons, we can try out with nuclear equipments, because as a part of nuclear deterrence is important to, as from the point of security of the country, like so to stop other countries from attacking us. It's better to have something with us which like stops other people from countries from attacking us, because they know if I have the weapons I can like use it at any point of time. This is very much true. The other fact is also very true. Now, what is that other fact? Because we have the power, because we have the nuclear weapon, because we are strong in it, we cannot misuse it. We have to understand the consequences of it. We have to understand the long-term effect, not only on the present generation, but on the future generations to come, that the nuclear weapons may have. And it is a part of the responsibility of the government and the alliances, the nuclear weapon manufacturers, everyone connected to it, to find, to understand, to realize, like, yes, we may be possessing certain weapons, but possessing certain weapons doesn't mean like we have to use it as an like very casually, without trying to find out whether other alternatives are possible or not, whether we can do it in a different, whether we can arrive at certain outcomes, whether we can go for certain outcomes peacefully, like, or a decision jointly taken, respected, where we keep to our words, where the integrity of the people are maintained, they don't walk out from their promises and follow it. So there will be many traps, many greeds. Again, because we have the weapon, because we have the power, why not just use it and test it so that others get to realize our power? But the power also lies in self-discipline. Power also lies in having a control on oneself. Like, you having power does not always mean like you need to show that power to others to appear powerful. So having a self-control on oneself, taking a positive decision towards how we can lead a peaceful life, how we can manage our country in a peaceful way. We may be having the weapons, we may be having the equipments, but it doesn't mean we need to like use it time and again often to show that we have that power. We can, if we really want to, find out other ways of running the country in a peaceful way without using the weapons. In terms of other equipments, we have to definitely see what is the benefit that is given by these equipments and what are the corresponding harm provided. In order to bring some benefit to the human, we cannot provide harm to the animals and to the environment at large. So whose benefit are we talking of? How is it going to bring like sustainability throughout the generations? Are we ignoring the right of the animals to survive? Are we disturbing the ecological balance while we are talking of using these nuclear weapons should be questions which should be visited, revisited again and again with a self-check to find out answers like to is this really required, or there could be other alternatives also. If we find like yes, it is really required, then what are we doing to arrest for the harm that we are providing to the animal world, to the environment at large, to the future generations of these human and the animal world to come, and the environment pollutions to be, or the depletion to be reduced. So what are we doing for it to balance it? So balanced approach is very much essential from the utilitarian perspective. Understanding one's duties towards and responsibilities of using these equipments and weapons is also very important focus from the deontological perspective with respect to nuclear ethics. Thank you.